And thank you for joining us this morning at this month's July Research Forum. Um, we have a brief presentation on behalf of sponsored programs. My name is Dye-Hixenbaugh. I am one of the assistant directors in the Office of Research for Sponsored Programs. And my colleague,
I'm Alyssa Bunn, and I'm the other assistant director here in Sponsor Programs.
and we are going to go over a brief slide presentation this morning. So today's agenda, Lisa?
Sure. So we're going to give you an update on the federal indirect cost rate caps and some language to use in your budget justifications in case you haven't seen this in another forum. We're going to talk a little bit about the NIH foreign involvement. We're seeing a lot of requests for awards and proposals related to this. So just to keep you up to date. We published new OR budget template features, and I've added a few things that I'm just going to briefly go over just so you're aware and know when to ask questions if you see something new. And then we're going to give you again our contacts for questions because we're here for all questions that you have as you're going forward.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa.
Mm-hmm.
So as we move forward, a quick update, as Alyssa mentioned in the agenda, the federal indirect cost rate caps that people have asked questions on. We wanted to make sure to take this opportunity to give you an update on where we're at, what we know, what's going on. So due to the litigation that's ongoing related to the recent federal indirect caps of the 15% modified total direct cost, the sponsors listed below are the ones that involve this imposed cap, even though we as an institution for UC Davis as well as UCOP, we are continuing to use our federally negotiated rate for all federal sponsors that do not have a historical program cap that's been approved by the federal government. As such, we will continue to add a disclaimer into the budget justifications in your proposed research projects to these particular sponsors so that they too are on notice of our intent and our wishes while some of the litigation is still pending final review through the courts. So that disclaimer language is going to be provided in the following slides, as well as when you work with our Office of Sponsor Programs and the proposal team, we will be providing that language again as well. So not only will we have the slides presented later, uploaded later today or tomorrow, by tomorrow, we will also be providing it per those instructions that follow this slide in the review. So please don't feel that you have to remember this information right now. It will be coming in multiple ways so that you have the information and that you and your faculty are informed. So at this time, we have the National Institutes of Health that do not require the statement to be added into the budget justification. Working with U.S. Department of Energy, they too do not require that language to be entered into the budget justification. However, working with the U.S. Department of Defense, including the CDMRP program, as well as the National Science Foundation, we do require that information to be added to the budget justification. And following that, here is the U.S. Department of Defense, including the CDMRP program, that requires that language. This language here identifies our position, identifies where we're at, and that should a court ruling be identified, we will then comply at that time. So this language, as well as when we're working with the the National Science Foundation, this language, as you can see, the language is different for each one because of the different litigation court orders that we are working on. We as an institution are working on together. So this language is different, so it's important to make sure that we have the proper language identified in the appropriate agency's budget justification for either Department of Defense, including CDMRP, or the National Science Foundation. So again, that language will be provided to you also when working with our campus proposal team, and as well as these slides will be presented again either later today or by tomorrow morning. Moving on, we have the NIH foreign involvement. we want to make sure that this is on everyone's radar because NIH is rejecting applications that do not include the foreign justification for the following reasons. If there's an other significant contributor that's unpaid who has a foreign appointment, or there's a consultant or service agreement that is not US based, any reference to unpaid foreign collaborators in the proposal documents, NIH is being more strict than they have in the past. And therefore, if there is any non-US collaboration or involvement, it is highly recommended that a foreign justification document be uploaded under the other attachments and the R&R other project information page of the application package for NIH proposals. Again, without this document, they are rejecting it. Therefore, we really do recommend that this gets added if there is any potential foreign involvement with the proposal. Again, at this time, new foreign subawards are not currently allowed in NSF proposals, so it's important not to incorporate them into a proposal submission at this time. PIs should be discussing their options with the significant foreign collaborators with their program official at NIH prior to any submission of a proposal, or even consider holding off on that proposal or their involvement in that proposal until after NIH has provided additional guidance that we are expecting, hopefully within the next few months, maybe as late as after the beginning of the federal fiscal year. They are working on it. We've heard updates in the sense that they are trying to figure out how to continue with foreign collaborators in the most appropriate way as they move forward. So please take heed to this information and in preparing for your proposal submissions, especially with the October deadline coming up in the next couple of months. Now I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa regarding the updates to the budget. I'm going to stop sharing so she can show you live not only this detail change in the budget that she's updated, as well as a few other features that are really helpful.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. I think. All right, so I've added some features, hopefully, to make your budgeting life easier. That's the goal. So based on feedback, one of these we talked about previously, and it's now uploaded to our website. And that is, if you put in a proposal and then you're awarded, sometimes the dates change slightly, right? You might have had a start date that was 4/1, and then it turns out to be 4/15, and all your fringe benefits are based on that. And in order to go over to accounting, you want a budget that matches those dates, but you don't want to have to rebudget, $243 somewhere else. So I heard a lot of feedback about that. So one of the things I've implemented is to have this proposed and awarded. And so let's say you have a budget that has some, we have personnel. I'm going to go ahead and use the drop down and just pick some fringe benefits. And you can see it's actually here. And you can see that your fringe benefits are divided between 3 and 9 months, and here are the rates. So if you were awarded, let's say it came in at 5/1, 2026, 4/30, 2031. This just changes your budget slightly, and you'll notice these go up by, a modest amount. Perhaps you don't need to have that change because this is already an estimate. There's already projections in there. You just want to really be able to efficiently move the award forward. You can then change this drop down here to no. And what that'll do is this still shows your new dates, but your estimates stay the same as they were previously. You can see instead of 393, it's still 291 based on the other date. So that's an option for you to save time. If your budget significantly changed, like if it was like a year and a half later, you of course want to use your awarded dates. If your dates are exactly the same, you can either repeat them here or you don't have to. You can just leave this blank and leave it proposed. So this is just a tool in case you want to use it as an option just to save you time at time of award. So that's one thing we've added, and I'm using the cost sharing budget. This features in all the different budget templates, but because I've added a couple things here that I wanted to highlight. So for all budgets, in the IRB fees, I've added the industry reliances. These are the ones that are not subject to indirect, but therefore, if you're doing clinical trials or you're doing for-profit sponsors, you can put them all in this section, where previously, if you had IRB fees for industry, to exempt them from indirect costs, they had to be down here. So now this is your one-stop shop for IRB fees, just to make it easier. And then here under the primate center costs, if you have primate center costs, it used to say federal and non-federal, that which matches the nomenclature on our rate agreement, but it's sometimes confusing because we really only apply the higher rate, the 90.1%, to industry sponsors. So we changed this to federal nonprofit, and then the other choice is industry, right, to indicate for-profit sponsors. Just to be clear, it operates the same way in carving out any recharges in here at the appropriate primate center rates. And then down here toward the bottom, one thing that I've heard from PIs that they really like is to see what rate is being applied. I know we have this F&A rate details that goes into details, but as a quick visual here, when you change the type of rate, this just tells you what rate it is. And then if you have primate center costs up here, it'll also add whatever rate you're using. So you can just see what rates are involved here and then look at your details for your bases here. So it's just a quick way to tell what's going on. I've also added the primate center rates here if you're submitting from the primate center and your entire budget is primate costs. You can choose it from the drop down, whereas previously you would type in 57.8 under other. So you can actually choose it as a rate here. And then I heard from some clients on campus that sometimes when you have cost sharing, you have unrecovered indirect costs, and those are the costs, right, that we would have charged to the sponsor in indirect costs, but they're not allowing us to. Sometimes they allow us to use that as cost sharing. One particular one is like USDA ARS. They say you have to have 20% mandatory cost sharing, and some of that can be unrecovered because they don't allow you to charge indirect costs. To meet that 20% exactly that they want you to meet, we don't need all the unrecovered indirect costs. So 61% of our requests may be much more than we need. So in that case, I've added this line here where you can customize how much your cost sharing and unrecovered indirect costs. So you can go here to the drop down and put custom, and then just put, let's say you only need $10,000 to meet your cost sharing, mandatory cost sharing amount. And you can just type it in, and then it's not an automatic calculation. You're not getting 61% of the request, you're getting a very specific amount. So we've added that just to help you out. So you don't have to type over formulas or try and figure that out. Let's see. I think that summarizes it. And I've also updated the fringe benefits rate based on the new projections by costing and policy, and the new projected rates for tuition and fees that are online. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing.
So
Let me know if you have.
So they have released the new tuition and fees finally. I've been monitoring, trying to see when those were going to be put out. So
I saw one for 25, 26. Sometimes they change. So sometimes they publish them, and then a few weeks later those estimates change, but they were at least different than we had. So I think they're the current estimates.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Alyssa, there's a question in the chat from
Okay.
Ruby. It says, for the tuition fees for the GSRs, can we still select buy down or not, as it might be
Sure.
phasing out?
Right. You can use your best estimate of what you think costs will be. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Is there an additional question? We can't hear it. Yeah, I think somebody's just talking in the background, unfortunately.
Somebody's not muted, I think.
Yeah, they just got muted. Thank you. Is there any additional questions regarding the budget? Yes, I want to thank everybody for their thank yous because Alyssa is amazing when it comes to these spreadsheets. She's amazing in general, don't get me wrong, but these spreadsheets are a godsend. I really feel that way. It's really helped a lot of the campus community over the years, and these new features are just added bonuses to her savvy with Excel and trying to make everyone's lives easier, more simplified and efficient.
Did I hear that buy down might be getting phased out? Did somebody just mention that?
I think we don't have any guidance on that at this time.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Michael asked a question if you can leave the awarded blank. Yes, definitely. You don't have to use the awarded column. It can be blank. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to help.
And in general, we want to thank you for your partnership with our office, working so closely with all of the units within our Office of Sponsored Programs, from the proposals, awards to the subawards team. We've really valued that partnership and working closely with you to meet the needs of the campus community as well as your faculty. I know there's some unique situations, and so we really appreciate the heads up and working with our office to making sure what we can do to help guide anyone through those unique and different situations, whether it's an award related, subaward, or a proposal. We really appreciate all of your help. So please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is provided in the slide here. And if you have any questions on a project that's not yet assigned to a particular analyst within our office, within any of the subdivisions, please feel free to use the generic email inbox and we will get back to you as soon as we can. If there's no other questions, we can continue on with the agenda and back to Perry.
Hi, thanks, Chris. So Nicole she's the Director at Contracts and Grants Accounting. Nicole, you want to take over?
Yep. Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm going to be quick. We just have two kind of reminders / updates. We will be starting our closeout process for old grants and whatnot starting in August. There'll start to be a push. So I would recommend, if you verify that your grants have overdrafts and start moving those off now, you will save yourself a huge headache when that process begins. The second thing would be, we are part of the R&D audit this year for a single audit. We have a meeting scheduled for September 5th for a kickoff. That is around the time we'll start to learn what projects are actually going to be pulled into that audit. We don't know what they are yet. I can't really answer any questions on that yet, but as a heads up, we will start to schedule meetings with project staff and PIs as soon as we know which projects are going to be called up for the audit. And those are my two fun facts for the day.
Are there any questions for CGA? Nope, then I'm going to proceed with my agenda item, which is upcoming training opportunities at SPO. You folks know the drill by now. I'm just going to talk about upcoming classes. Our first class is tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be doing electronic research administration. And that class is one of our kind of entry-level classes into the whole research administration process. And the class provides an overview of the different electronic research administration systems that we use to prepare and submit research proposals, and then to manage research awards or subawards. And so these are systems like ERA Commons, research.gov, California's FAST system. The class is primarily going to focus on Cayuse SP. It's used to route proposals internally for institutional approvals, and Cayuse 424, which is linked to grants.gov and used to submit proposals to most federal sponsors. And we're going to have some hands-on exercises in the use of both of those. So the next class is proposal preparation and submission. that's a very helpful class for learning the process to submit, prepare and submit proposals. And topics include overview of the entire extramural funding process at UC Davis, types of proposals and awards, types of sponsors, understanding a call for proposals, PI eligibility, components of a proposal, lots of good details in there. And the last class, oh, I didn't say the date. That one is occurring on August 7th in the afternoon. And the last class is Understanding the Awards Process. That's going to be on August 21st in the morning. These are all on Thursdays. And the Understanding the Awards Process is going to cover the steps undertaken at UC Davis when a sponsor elects to fund a proposal and your unit's part in the review, negotiation, and the award acceptance process. So the recommended prerequisite for all of those classes is the e-course Sponsored Programs Essentials, and you can find all of the links to register for these classes, and you'll find the e-courses at the link I put in the chat. So unless there are other questions, I see a hand up. Gwen.
Hi, Barry.
Hi.
Quick question. So looking at the Cayuse SP IPF form, the foreign activity section, should we be including personal electronic items that people would normally carry with them when traveling in the list of things that we're exporting?
You know, I'm not entirely sure on the answer to that. I'd suspect yes. Do we have anyone from RICO here who can answer that more accurately?
So what was the question? Can you clarify?
So I have a project where there's going to be significant international travel. Should we be including in the foreign activity section of the IPF question 2, if we're sending, transporting, transmitting, or carrying materials or equipment outside the United States, including computers, etc. Should we be including in that personal electronic devices that people are bringing with them, like their laptop, their cell phone, their smartwatches, etc.?
I've always wondered that too, actually. So thank you
It's a
for
gray area.
Yeah. Yeah, I think generally those items are not ones that are considered, there's generally unless it's like a highly specialized computer, that's not just a generic, one you could just buy, or go to the Apple store and go buy a laptop. If it has like any specialized computer components, things like that, that would be when we would want it, disclosed. I think obviously, otherwise, general bringing of your phone, your laptop, usually those are not going to be problematic unless they have, information or something on their computer in which would be problematic to travel with. But otherwise, just generally bringing your laptop and devices do not need to be disclosed.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Alicia. Good question, Gwen. Do we have any other good questions or bad questions? Terrible questions. Any questions for SPO or CGA, or we've got John Tupin here. If you have any IRB questions, he would love them. All right, well, that sounds like we have no other questions, and we've gone through our agenda. So as far as I know, we are done. So thank you all for your time, and we'll catch you at the next one.